What if the journey to enlightenment begins with a dream that has no door? The Lotus Realm, Journey Through the 10 Bhūmis isn't just a novel. It is a spiritual cinematic experience inspired by the sacred Avatamsaka Sutra, where each chapter is a gate to the unseen and you, the viewer, are invited in. Are you the seeker who has tried all books, gurus, methods but still feel incomplete? Do you sense there's something deeper, something beyond words, but it's always just out of reach? Have you ever been lost in your own thoughts, trapped in mirrors of illusion, chasing truths that vanish the moment you grasp them? Or maybe you've touched silence, only to be pulled back into noise. This video is made for you. Why do we suffer on the path? Because we believe awakening is something to gain, when it is something to remember. Because we think there's a destination, when the path was never outside. In this stunning journey through 10 Bhūmis, you will meet a monk who walks through illusions, a blind child chanting silent scriptures, a woman who embodies compassion within Chao's each character, a mirror of your own spiritual archetypes. This isn't fiction. This is sacred storytelling. And as you watch, you won't just follow a story, you'll feel it unravel inside you. Stay till the end, where form dissolves, where even you disappears, and only truth remains. Because sometimes the story you're rewatching is the story of you waking up. Hit play, stay awake, set the light. This video may be the sign you've been waiting for. Don't scroll past, step into the Lotus Realm, the hill among the Dehat Ajrama Realm. The world doesn't appear because I arrive. It appears because I pause long enough within. On the peak of Snow Mountain, where no human voice remains and even weeds hesitate to grow, a young bhikkhu walks slowly through a mist as white as undyed silk. His name is Samon. No one knows his true Dharma name. No one gave him a name, and no one needs to remember it. In his former life, he was a scholar, a teacher of hundreds of Dharma talks. One who had memorized the Lotus Sutra, the Prakshuddha, the Lakvakra, and even the Afayarma in 3 languages. But now he is but a wandering step light as a quantum gate floating through space-time. He is seeking a door, not one made of wood, nor tied to any particular Dharma method. He seeks a door with no hinge, where the mind no longer needs to ask, what's next? Một ide the one who knew everything leave. That year, while teaching Dharma in Urdhvavastu, hundreds sat below him, taking notes, bowing with reverence. An old man approached. He didn't bow, he didn't kneel, he didn't speak. He simply gazed at Samon for a long time and softly smiled. You speak well, but is the Dharma truly in you? Then he turned and left, like mist dissolving at dawn. From that night on, Samon ceased teaching. He left the Sangha, left the monastery, carried only an old cloth pouch with no sutras, no beads, no paper, only a small mirror that reflected nothing. Hai as beyond Sio Ojra de Inate systems. Snow Mountain has no trail. Each step he takes presses into untouched snow. And like Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, he cannot determine both his position and his direction at once. He only knows. This is the next step. For one who has no way back. It is -10 degrees Celsius, but the heart isn't cold. For he no longer sees his body as a solitary object. With each step, his cells emit synchronized alpha waves, merging with the Earth's magnetic field like a meditator, attuned to the collective field of consciousness. No GPS, no map, only a heartbeat sensing with the Schumann resonance, reminding him. The way is not ahead, it lies exactly where your heel touches. By a moment meeting a word not from here. When he reaches the white cliff, a place rumored to have seen only one person enter deep Samti and vanish, Samon sits. He doesn't meditate, doesn't dechan, doesn't recite. He just sits. And when beta waves cease, when the mind stops resisting suddenly, high-frequency gamma waves arise in the brain, a phenomenon recorded only in those reaching a state of knowing without a knower. In that moment, all surroundings disappear. Snow melts without dripping. Wind stops yet still sounds. Space bends. A circle of light appears not through sight, but as a sensation of the mind being touched by another dimension. This is the Lotus Treasury Gate. A voice echoes not through ears, but rising from the pineal gland like a bell from 1,000 lifetimes ago. born a door that needs no opening. Ahead, amid the snow, a great door appears made up illusion. It has hinges, Sanskrit floral carvings, lotus motifs but no handle. Someone approaches, pauses. He recalls the Avatasaka Sitra in the chapter entering the Dharma realm, where Suhana meets Samantha Hadra and is told, "The door up the way has never been closed." It is not that no one opens it, but that no one dares not to knock. Someone does not knock. He merely places his heel softly upon the threshold, and at that very moment, the entire scene collapses like a quantum field reversing its spin. The old world fades. The old self dissolves. Only a wordless mind remains standing in a world that has never had a name. Nam, when the foot ayat no longer your Awaken the day hat azermer ariam begins. When someone opens his eyes, he sees no sky, no earth, only a field up non-light yet filled with infinite potential. No above below, no way back. In that field, delicate waveforms like gravitational energies in fractal geometries move like the Avatasaka Sitra expressed in quantum language. He hears a voice distant, yet within his heart. Your heel stands at the first level up the Dharma realm, but you have no heel, and the realm has no ground. Be ready. The 10 grounds haven't begun, but the walker is no longer one web hat or walks. Finals inner verse, a heel placed in the nameless land, and yet all depths unfold at hand. The moment no more why appears, the Dharma manifests, nameless, clear. No boat, no side the gate must sow, yet any heart may enter so. Not going, not arriving, not turned, and yet all things are where hearts yearned. Chapter High, the doorless door. Nothing is holding you back. You just haven't stepped beyond yourself. Bodhisattva Samantahara, apocryphal saying, night without darkness, day without light, only a vast expanse beyond duality, where the monk no longer knows if he's standing, or if he's already dissolved into space. The door is still there, neither open nor closed, no handle, no hinge, no prohibition, yet no invitation. It doesn't need to be open, because it has never been closed. The doorless door lie the unbounded Dehat Azermer Ariam. The monk does not move. He lets his body gently sway to the natural vibration of the Dharma realm, lie an electron pulsing in a static field, not by will, but in resonance with the primal pulse of real IT. The door does not answer, and IT does not need to, because IT isn't there to be entered, but to reveal that there is no longer any need to enter. The moment the mind stops desiring to go in, he is already within. Hayat Amma Anatea Behat Adeja does not appear, Beyute Hat Ayat words are present. Suddenly from within, not in language, a stream of inner true speak rises. The doorless door is your very mind. As long as you see inside and outside, that door becomes a wall. When you realize there is no one guarding the door, no one crossing IT, no one waiting for you to enter, then in the step that is not a step, the Dharma rim quietly opens. The monk bows not with his body, but with the whole reverence of his being. In that moment, every cell in his body vibrates, in phase with the Skuman resonance. 7.83 Hz, the Earth's foundational hum. He no longer feels where his body is, only that he has become a meeting point of self-aligning energy fields. By meeting the guard Vekephat Onis no guarding. Before him, suddenly, a figure appears sitting in meditation. Faceless, formless, no eyes, no mouth, only a back turned toward him. The monk steps forward, wishing to bow. The figure speaks without turning. Vekephat O, are you bowing to? I don't know. If you don't, he no need to bow. If you do, then even less need to. For the one before you is but a shadow, cast by your own mind's longing for a guide. And if you still need someone to guard the door, you are not yet ready to walk where no step is needed. The monk stands still. He realizes IT is not the door he must pass through, but the illusion of someone guarding IT in his mind. Born, when the foot relaxes, the Dehat Azramer Ariam shifts. He does not knock, does not push, does not ask, what should I do? Just one step, without the intent to step. In that instant, the ground quivers softly, like a quantum fluctuation decoring. Time and space melt. The door dissolves into spiraling fractal patterns, rise glows, and vanishes into the voidness of knowing. Before him unfolds an entirely different cosmos, not of light, not of vision, not of imagination. It is the Lotus Treasury world, the Dharma realm described in the Avatamsaka Sutra. One flower reveals a world, one word reveals a Buddha, one Buddha reveals countless worlds, as infinite as the sands of the Ganges. A pathless path. There is no path, no direction, only a mind moving for good, but no one taking a step. The world appears as reflections folded from undimensional space, emerging, dissolving, with the monk's ungrasping mind. Each time he lets go of a clinging thought, a new layer unfolds before him. There is no map, because the one mapping is also the one erasing the road. He understands. Every layer reveals not because he searches, but because he is slowly losing the sense that I am walking. Epe Aile Ogue, symbols for inside, the doorless door, symbol of the always open Dharma realm. Only illusion ever locks it, the silent gatekeeper, an echo of the guiding figure that ego still needs to cling to. Melting into energy fields reveals that when the mind ceases to question, reality reveals itself in perfectly matched frequency. The practitioner's frequency is no longer thought waves, but resonance with the depth of the cosmos, where all objects vanish and only nameless presence remains. Endings inner verses in the Vietnamese Lukbat style, inspired by Nguyễn Du. A door with no hinge, no lock or bar. Yet when the mind lets go, the land feels familiar. No step required, no guiding hand, and still a whole realm unfolds from within. He sits with back turned, eyes unseen, yet somehow lights up the chest unseen. When no one is watching, no eyes to find, that's when true Dharma reveals its sign. Chapter 3. The practitioner between TVKO worlds. To walk through IT, yet no longer be IT. Samantahara, apocryphal saying. The monk leaves the Dehat Ajrama a realm. Beute the Dehat Ajrama never leaves him. When the doorless door dissolved into emptiness, the monk didn't feel like he was moving on. He only knew his mind no longer clung to the sensation up here or there, and at the very moment the mind let go of position, another field of images appeared, not a celestial realm, not a sacred hall, but a bustling marketplace in the human world, where the scent of money, the clash of voices, the rush of steps, the heartbeat of a world in hurry, collided in full force. The monk was standing in the middle of the market. No one was surprised at his presence. No one even looked. The way does not make one outwardly different. It makes one inwardly undisturbed by difference. Hi, the floor seller. Ka Uma Udea. A sharp voice called out like a bullet, but warm as fading fire. Hey, move aside. You rest standing where I lay out my lotus each morning. The monk turned. She was young, strong frame, bright eyes, sun-darkened skin. Her arms cradled a bundle of lotus blossoms, sweat glistening on her brow. She wasn't what monks would call noble, but in her eyes, there was something more real than anything he had ever read in sutras. He quietly stepped aside. She added, softer now. Don't stand at the crossroads. Here, people don't stop to ask. They just walk straight through you. He asked, what's your name? Kumuda lie the white lotus that blooms at night. Only the wakeful can see it. The Dehat Ajrama I not separate from the marketplace. The monk stood beside Kumuda the whole morning. He did not preach. She did not ask, but each time she gave change, she looked people in the eye. Each time someone shouted, she didn't lower her head. She just smiled like someone Vikephat O knows. They have nothing to lose. The monk saw. In chaos there are those Vikephat O remain undisturbed. In the scramble there are those Vikephat O do not cling. The Dharma does not need a temple to be present. It does not need chanting to be revealed. The Dharma is in the dirty hands of the lotus seller, Bone, a question not found in scripture. That afternoon, she packed up her stall and asked, "Why did you come down here?" He replied, "I did not come down. I simply stopped going up." She paused. "Do you still practice?" "I once tried. Now I just lie, without labeling it practice." Kumuda stays silent. Then she asked not with words, but with her eyes, "If you've entered the Dharma realm, why are you still standing here?" He answered not with words, but with heart, because the Dharma realm was never apart from here. Now when the mind no longer chooses sides, samsara and nirvana unite. In quantum physics, a particle can exist in multiple states simultaneously. A superposition. Only when observed does it collapse into one form. Those Vidkephat haven't seen the way I always choose, profane or sacred. Those Vidkephat have entered the way, lie in both, but do not collapse into either. The monk stood in the market, but his mind resonated in a wordless frequency. The sights did not disturb him, yet he did not shun them. The true practitioner chooses near above nor below. Such a one becomes a bridge, a way up the Dharma realm in human form. Closing's inner verses, a monk not dwelling in lofty halls, but in the lowly market, sharing heart with all. To sit once amidst the spinning crowd, and not be pulled, this is deep attainment. To meet a lotus in the market storm, yet remain unstained, needs no speech nor norm. Kumuda never asked for proof. She simply embodied Dharma amid the weary truth. Chapter Bone, the storm of illusory thoughts. The mind is nowhere, but the storm within is real. Because we still kon it me, Samantahadra, apocryphal saying. Mot, the storm begins with a single question. That evening, Kumuda was not at the market. The winds rose. The monk sat alone beneath a tree. No chanting, no mantra. He simply sat, and yet the mind began to stir, not from the world outside, but from deep within. A small question lie an unstable nucleus, drop into the field of awareness. Have I truly let go? Am I still practicing to attain? In that moment, the subconscious web of mental projections, like a neurofeedback field, began to oscillate. A storm arose. Hai, illusory thought I at elep amabela ife inner way. In quantum physics, there's a phenomenon called positive feedback oscillation. A minor disturbance amplifies itself through its own feedback until it spirals into chaos. Likewise, in consciousness, a thought of egolessness is inflated. By the very desire to be egoless, a moment of letting go is quietly hijacked by a new I that claims I am letting go. A flash of insight is pulled back into a subtle ego by the voice say, I see clearly. Illusory thought does not come from outside. It arises when the mind reflects itself. Without realizing it is caught in reflection. The monk it swept into himself. He found himself in a resplendent Dharma hall, surrounded by bowing disciples. A voice called out, "You were the first to enter the Lotus Treasury realm. Please show the way." He remained silent. Part of him saw it as illusion. Part of him thought, maybe I really have attained. The moment the mind tilted ever so slightly, the realm collapsed into a mirror dimension. He was now trapped in a maze of his own making, born the math of shadows. This maze had no walls, only countless versions of himself. Hundreds of monks identical in appearance, one stern holding prayer beads, one meditating on a snowy peak, one preaching to a roaring crowd, one sobbing alone in an empty void. He approached one figure. Vikephat are you? I am the image of you. When you thought you had escaped images? He stepped back. Another monk approached. And I am the you. Vikephat was tired of ego, but still in love with the feeling of letting go. He understood. This was no ordinary illusion. This was a storm born from practice itself, the kind that comes when one has overcome laziness, but not yet transcended self. The mind like a molecule in a poetic. Again, quantum physics offers insight. The practitioner, in a state of indeterminacy, is like a molecule tossed inside a vibrating box, bouncing endlessly, uncontrollably. The expectation of enlightenment creates endless feedback loop, leading to a super illusion. where illusion wears the robe of the Dharma. The monk saw it clearly, but could not escape, because the more he wished to exit the maze, the more a new self arose, the one where kept had or wants to escape, and that was the subtlest illusion of all. Saw only question that saved him. Amid all the shadows, a child appeared, faceless, voiceless. It traced a single word into the air. Vephat, not Vekhat O am I, not Vekephat O is the Dharma, just Vikephat O. The monk did not answer. No one could. Every shadow dissolved, like interference waves, cut off from their source. The storm was gone. Closing's inner verses. Step through shadows, they still remain, for even the step carries the self again. Delusion is not born up night, but up too much light, casting endless sight. A wordless question drifts like wind. Vikephat O walks this path, Vikephat O sins, Vikephat O wins. The storm is not outside the soul, but inside the dream, where I still holds control. Chapter 9, The Shadow Keeper. No one is following you, but something still stands behind everything. Not a person, but a gaze not yet released. Samantahadra, apocryphal saying. Mot when shadows do not come from light, beute from mind. After the storm of illusions, the monk opened his eyes. No more maze, no more layered egos, but one thing remained. A shadow, not one cast by the sun, not one refted from some realm, but the shadow of the thought I have just passed through. The moment the mind believes, I am now free from illusion, a new shadow is born. It stands behind the awareness that calls itself pure. The shadow keeper appears. He stood in a misty field. Footsteps, not someone approaching from the front, but someone walking behind him. In perfect step, the monk turned. There was a figure dressed just like him, face blurred, undefined. The figure did not greet, did not smile, did not speak, only mirrored his every move. He stopped. The figure stopped. He asked, Vikephat O are you? The figure replied, I am the gate you haven't dared to look back at. A shadow ayat ape hat at aino ve'erate a way of self. In Gui physics, there's a concept called out-of-phase oscillation, when a Gui reflects and reverses, interfering with the original to create cancellation. The mind works similarly. Whenever one thinks, I want to transcend ego, a silent part reflects that desire and becomes the one walking behind, the shadow of the self trying to transcend. The shadow keeper does nothing. He only exists as long as you see yourself as the one where Kephat O walks forward. Bon adilok not men ep ozra questions. The monk sat down. The shadow sat too. Space tightened. Like Higgs field interference. Bending even time. The monk asked, Are you real? The figure smiled. You ask because you still believe there's a you asking. Silence. The figure said, I do not need to exist, but so long as your mind still whispers, I have just crossed a layer of illusion. I must remain here. Nam looking back, no one I at looking. The monk closed his eyes. No visualization, no suppression. He simply sat, as one Vikephat O has never sat before. No intent, no words, no seeking. In that state, his mind entered non-dual unity, where no split remains between subject, object, or action. He did not chase away the shadow. He simply stopped looking in the old way. And in that moment, the shadow keeper vanished, not dissolved, not faded. No longer anyone left for it to appear to. Closing inner verses. One may move beyond illusion's thread, yet still a silent shadow treads. That figure walks not outside range, but right behind the steps of change. No need to chase, no need to fight. Just cease the gaze and end the sight. One shadow's form no longer thrills. The light no longer needs to feel. Chapter 6, the Sutra without words. If a sutra could be read by the eyes, then the blind would never realize the way. If truth required words to be understood, then all sages would merely be chatterers. Samantahadra, apocryphal saying. A sound that does not sound, Iete stilsrai et honor ate et. That morning, the mist dissolved slowly like a thought not yet released. The monk entered a white forest. No green, white leaves, white earth. No bird song. Only the faint vibration, as if no sound was made. Yet still it was heard. He slowed his steps, chanting, without voice, without words. And with each step, his mind resonated in alpha waves, blending into that silent chant, so vividly that he could feel the words, though he had never heard them. High, the blind child under the white tree. At the root of a twisted white tree sat a blind child, about 8 years old. No prayer beds, no robes, back straight, mouth unmoving, yet lips quivered faintly to the rhythm of silence. The monk stood still, not daring to interrupt. His mind settled like a quantum mirror, reflecting without analysis about what I ate the sutra without words. He asked, "Child, what are you chanting?" Without opening eyes, without lifting his head, the child replied, "I chant a sutra I do not know, because I knew it would already have become sound." He asked, "Vekephat O taught you?" "No one taught me. I just hear it from very far away, and yet as if from within." The monk trembled. This was hearing without ears, knowing without study, receiving without giver. This was the sutra without words, born lines that cannot be written on paper. In his mind, lines began to appear, not in ink, not in script, but as waves of energy, transmitted directly into his nerves, like resonance etched straight into his cells. He did not understand, but he received. First line, there is no Dharma. Second line, that which listens is not real. Third line, to read without reading is reading. Fourth line, to hear when no one hears is hearing. Final line, did not appear, because silence itself was the conclusion of all words. Quantum physics ana de the terra ana etler inergo u aller voice. In modern physics, certain phenomena are not transmitted by linear data, but by field entanglement, an instantaneous connection between 2 points, through the resonance of the underlying field, faster than light. Likewise, the sutra without words is a communion beyond expression, a direct resonance in the intersection of awareness, hearing, contemplation, where no subject remains, a semantic biology of pure energy, a spiritual frequency beyond grammar, a scripture existing only in the mind without a chanter. The child vanishes at the sutra ayat complete. As the monk placed his palms together in gratitude, the child smiled, eyes still closed, only a small knot, and then vanished into the mist. No footprints, no echo, only a deep, silent vibration, like a final chant that was never voiced. The monk sat down. For the first time in his life, he chanted nothing, and his whole being chanted. Closing his inner verses, a blind child chanting in the air, opens the Dharma hall within the heart's lair. A verse with no word, no sound in tone, yet echoes the Dharma deep into the bone. No ink has written, no tongue has told, but vibration itself inscribes the whole. To hear with the stillness vast and free, to chant with breath unnamed in unity. Chapter by the mountain that turns upside down. When climbing high, one sees it as a descent. When descending deep, one discovers the true summit. Samanta Hadra, apocryphal saying, what the path upward at all would think. After the blind child vanished, the monk saw before him a lone mountain, standing in the center of a round valley. No edge, no exit. At its summit, a great lotus seemed to bloom, shining softly, like plasma flickering at gamma frequencies. No signpost, no footsteps to follow, only the radiance of his whole being, guiding him through an inner compass beyond reason. He began to climb. The higher he climbed, the stranger it felt. Each step breeze stirred, not cold. The higher he went, the air did not thin, but his thoughts did. His mind felt hollow, lighter, but also more ungraspable. Not confusion, not clarity, but an undefinable slipping, as if each step erased the very idea of self. The Upayet Ide Adeove Kepner scene. Now you are descending. Midway up, a crooked stone pillar bore a carved sign. You are beginning to descend. If you still wish to climb, turn back. If you wish to meet the way, go on. The monk paused. The wind blew upward from below. He looked to the sky, and the heavens inverted. The ground became sky, and the sky seemed to hold his feet. He realized this was no longer a physical mountain. It was the peak of thought, rising yet hollow. The mountain at the ego or at LF erected. In physics, a frame of reference exists only when anchored to an asset. The mind is the same. When I am a practitioner, the mountain appears as a goal. When I must overcome illusion, the summit becomes a mirage to chase. But when all anchors are released, the mountain turns upside down in perception. The monk stopped. No ascent, no descent. He sat, and instantly, the mountain inverted within his consciousness. Not by sight, but through the quantum feedback of awareness, where position, direction, high and low no longer stand apart. Now when one does not climb, the summit appears. Seated, the monk no longer saw mountain, no longer saw himself. Only a voice resonated. Like perfect face alignment between awareness and space. You never needed to climb. You only had to pause long enough to see you were never below. In that instant, the mountain dissolved into a lotus bloom, and he was seated right in its heart. No one lifted him. Nothing raised him, for he had never been anywhere at all. Mind is a spaceless field. Only when the notion of thought ends, the way reveals itself. Closing's inner verses. That mountain has no above, only the illusion of striving it wove. The higher the climb, the further astray. The deeper the thirst, the more shadows play. The step that does not chase its own trace is when the summit blooms in place. No hand uplifts, no path is shown, yet the lotus opens where one has never gone. Chapter 8, sinking into stillness, then seeing. When the mind no longer seeks, that which was sought reveals itself. When no one walked, the way appears in the very footprint. Samanthadra, apocryphal saying. Nothing left to walk toward. After the mountain peak reversed and dissolved into illusion, the monk sat in silence, suspended in directionless space. No trees, no sound, not even the rhythm of his own heart, for his body no longer held boundaries. Every cell became a node of resonance within the field of the Dharma realm, not wired by nerves, but connected through a full spectrum frequency of life. No goals, no paths, no reason to do anything more. And it was precisely then that he saw. Haidamana te behadadezra does not arrive be ute appears. Within the absolute stillness, a radiance emerged, but without light. No form, no face, no scent, no color, no language. Yet it knew, and he no longer knew he was being seen. No one was seeing anyone. Only pure seeing manifest, complete, without self, without reflection. A deep vibration, lion infrasound rising from the heart, spoke. Monk, you have never been apart from me. It was only because you longed too much to see the butcher that you never saw. But unknowing true knowing. In physics, when measurement does not disturb a particle, it reveals its purest state, its ground state, untainted, undistorted. The practitioner's mind is the same. When there is no urge to grasp, no urge to analyze, no voice saying, I am the one Vekephat or sees, the insight of the Tathgata reveals itself. The monk now rested in the state of awareness without object, where there is no distinction between seer and seen, no notion of I am enlightened, only knowing without knower. This was Samanthadra, not as a bodhisattva, but as the wordless way of awareness, pervading the Dharma realm. Words that were never spoken. No sound was heard, yet the mind received. You have gone far enough to see. There is nothing but pure awareness. Now enter a deeper journey, not to understand Dharma, but to let Dharma move through your body, not to realize the way, but to let the way touch the world. Through each step you lie. He did not bow, did not nod, for there was no one left to make such gestures. Only a ripple of resonance passed through his whole being. Every cell bloomed in silence. Numb, sinking into stillness, stepping into ID. Once more, the monk closed his eyes, not to meditate, but to dissolve the very thought, I am still. All sensory wiring disengaged from the brain's center of orientation and shifted into expanded awareness, an openness without center. His mind no longer sat in his head, but extended into space. He did not leave anywhere, yet all directions felt him. The Dharma was moving through him. Symbols were inside, sinking into stillness, then seeing. The Zen principle of no seeking, thus attainment. The Tantric non-doing. The Avatamsaka entering the Dharma realm. Samantagora without form. The Dharmakya itself, beyond images, beyond representations. Complete knowing. The state of non-dual awareness. Direct, non-conceptual. Profound, all-encompassing. When we cease wanting to know about the way uses you as its instrument. When we cease being a practitioner, the way simply is the person. Closings and verses. Nakon, no sumun. Yet Samantahadra shines within me. One deep silence, stretched afar, reveals not being, is true seeing. No why connects the mind today, yet all things interlink in their own way. To sit, not to go, not to roam, but to let the way pour quietly into the soul. Chapter 9, the opening of the 10 Bhūmis grounds. You do not enter the first stage to become a bodhisattva, but to dissolve the one Vekephat or wishes to become a bodhisattva. Samantahadra, apocryphal saying. Một a single lotus ten unf olade inget. From that silence, the monk was led, though no one led him. No sound, no command. Only an invisible field of resonance, guiding each step as though the inner magnetism of consciousness aligned with a quantum current, etching a path as thin as light itself. Before him stood a vast lotus, its 10 petals layered, each one a world. Each ground is not elsewhere, each is a frequency of mind. When resonance meets its tone, that ground is revealed. Hai, overview of the 10 grounds, 10 frequencies of the Bodhe Hat Ayat mind. The 10 grounds are not achievements. They are 10 descents, 10 surrenders of subtle ego clinging. Each ground corresponds to an inner energy field, a subtle knot to transcend, and a spiritual vista to unfold. Ground name frequency to transcend. More joyful ground, Hwanhi Địa, frequency of compassion's first bloom attachment to the merit of beginnings. High stainless ground, Decode Địa, purifying current of mindfulness hidden ego within diligence. Ba luminous ground, Phat Quang Địa, inner radiance of wisdom discriminating mind disguised as right view. Bốn blazing wisdom ground, Diệm Huệ Địa, fire that burns illusion clinging to I am the true practitioner. Năm difficult to conquer ground, Nan Thắng Địa, way that breaks attachment to virtue subtle craving within compassion. Sáu manifest ground, Hiện Tiền Địa, frequency of non-separation illusion of the enlightened với the deluded. Bảy far-going ground, Viễn Hành Địa, frequency of effortless action unconscious striving for attainment. Tám immovable ground, Bất Động Địa, stillness within motion the thought of realization. Chín good wisdom ground, Thiện Huệ Địa, direct insight into conditions pride of I understand deeply. 10 Dharma cloud ground, Pháp Vân Địa, frequency of unbound Dharmakaya clinging to Dharma, liberation, even emptiness. None of the grounds are closed, but only no one can enter them. And the one Vekephat-o walks is no longer the one Vekephat-o first wished to walk. Ba, the entry rite without form. No rooms, no bells, no ceremony. He stood before the first ground, the joyful ground. A heat surged through his body, not from weather, but from resonance with the field of newborn compassion. A voice vibrated through the void, like ultrasound pulsing into the pineal gland. Are you certain you wish to step in? He gave no answer, only breath without breather, step without stepper, and his whole being dissolved into the first lotus petal. The inner world, yet not different but deeper. He had not gone elsewhere, but the familiar world, now unveiled a depth he had never sensed. Sound clearer, though not by ears. Light more still, though not by eyes. Mind sharper, though not by thought. As if his spiritual field had been raised a few megahertz. as if a biological gate of perception had opened beyond the senses. This was the beginning of a journey of countless kalpas, condensed into a single breath, sufficient to encompass the 10 directions, symbols for awakening, the 10-petaled lotus, the seamless quantum layers of mind, continuous, non-linear, non-dual, no rights, no sound, the entry into the path without trace. The one Vikepat orders not walk, the only key to the 10 grounds. Dharma does not reveal itself to one Vikepat O still seeks to see. It opens only when seeing itself is no longer needed. Closing inner verses. The 10 grounds are not heights above, but softenings of self, where heart turns to love. One gentle step beyond the gnome, and the lotus blooms nameless, full-grown. No temple rites, no flame. Yet in one breath all vows became. One Vikepat O holds nothing, nothing to claim. Walks on and Dharma itself proclaims. And this was only the first step. The monk has just touched the threshold up the Lotus Realm, but the true trials, the 10 myths, still await. Next episode, illusions will shatter. A blind child will chant scriptures with no words, and the path will reveal secrets hidden even from seekers themselves. You don't want to miss what comes next. If this story stirred something inside you, hit subscribe right now. Turn on notifications so when the next chapter drops, you'll be the first to walk through the next gate. Because this isn't just a story you watch, it's a journey you lie. And the Lotus Realm has only just begun to open. Subscribe, stay awake, see you in the next chapter.